Hello, and welcome to our lesson on ethics in communication. This segment will cover stakeholder expectations management, Part 1. According to the recent Chaos Research report by the Standish Group, 39% of the projects are fully successful, 43% are late over budget missing deliverables, and 18% fail altogether. With almost two-thirds of projects failing to meet expectations, the whole idea of project communication has a very real problem in its hands. Given that so many projects are under-delivering, would a better strategy be the under-promising and over-delivery? At first blush, this may seem like the answer, but this approach neglects the way projects typically operate. Projects are created to provide a return on investment, ROI, to the organization initiating them. If this anticipated return is undercut or underpromised, then the very real danger exists of the project never starting in the first place. So how do we manage this quandary? For the project itself, many of the practices involved here have already been discussed before, such as proper estimating, understanding, commitment, consistent tracking, and risk management are viral. Although the project itself may be properly managed, have you ever considered how to strike the proper balance between communicating with stakeholders? Stakeholders are people who can affect or are affected by the execution or outcome of the project. According to this definition, both of these groups need communication. Stakeholders affecting the project. Because they have so much influence, the stakeholder group demands the most attention. Meeting that demand is wise, as they often can and do cause the most disruption in project. Not anticipating the expectations of individuals in this group represents a major risk to the project. Stakeholders who are affected by the project. Although it's easy to focus on those stakeholders who have the potential to thoroughly disrupt our project, it's of vital importance not to forget those who are the most affected by our actions. Because these people in many cases don't have the ability to directly intervene or disrupt a project, it's up to the project leader and team to properly advocate for them. Both groups are expected to care about project objectives and the product, but there are other project elements that may also be of concern to them. Most often, these groups seek information in the form of progress and expectation updates. While analyzing who the stakeholders are, the project team should try to anticipate each stakeholder's expectation, planning to meet them with a proper response. Not doing so risks disappointment or even project failure. Consider the following when managing expectations. Expectations are affected by stakeholders' own experiences and biases. This means, for example, that a previous project, one you weren't even involved with, might have a negative effect on your stakeholders' perception of your project. Expectations follow a pattern. Stakeholders are often creatures of habit. If you have done something every Tuesday in the last 2 months, it's reasonable for others to expect that pattern to continue. Sometimes all you need to do is ask. Though there may occasionally be difficulties beyond this, often all that is needed is to ask each stakeholder about their expectation. Expectations are based on what you have said before. This may seem obvious, but it's surprising how often a project leader can become frustrated with a stakeholder's demands, even though they exactly match what was originally promised. Hard data can be extremely valuable. Metrics and reports are an asset in setting and managing expectations, especially with stakeholders who prefer to analyze the data themselves. How then are expectations actively managed? In most cases, this comes down to regular communication, anticipating what the receiver might expect, developing a strategy with this in mind, and executing the strategy of regular communication. If possible, these communications should be customized based on the individual profile of the other project stakeholders. Components. Stakeholders register, a table containing a list of individuals or groups who can affect or are affected by the project. Communication plan. A communication plan should include following information. What? The type of information should be communicated. Examples include status updates, quad chart, and reports. How, the method, the channel of delivery, to whom. The recipients of each type of communication, these should line up with the stakeholders identified in your stakeholder register. When. Information about the frequency of communication or specific scenarios would trigger a communique. Who. The team members or roles responsible for conducting the communication. Different team structures will handle this differently. This is the end of this segment of our lesson. In the next segment, we shall discuss Stakeholder Expectations Management, Part 2. This course is presented to you by South Europe College. Thank you for listening, and see you on our next segment.